Microphone. Barnaby.
Well, thank you very much to the Prime Minister, to the Deputy Prime Minister, to the Ministers for Agriculture, to Major General Stephen Day, to Premiers, to Ag Ministers, to Leader in Agriculture, to councillors, to farmers, to a former Governor-General, to the lady who served me tea as I came through the door, just about everybody. What we see just for that list is something that is self-evident, that the majority of you are from government. And what I want to briefly discuss is the role of government and what we can actually do rather than what we can talk about. This is something that if governments work together, we can have a formidable process that actually alleviates droughts into the future and works to a better outcome. I was fortunate when a long time ago to actually sing at the Sydney Opera House. I sang as a treble, so it was quite a few years ago, and it was in Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. That was the first drought envoy. That really was a drought envoy. So what was the government doing there in pharaonic times? They were planning for drought. They were planning that there would be 7 good years followed by 7 bad years and how they were going to get the Egyptian people through that period of time. And this in itself has to be emblematic of us planning for how we are going to go forward from this point. We have to have a plan if we want to help the white goods store in Longreach stay in business. We have to have a plan if we want to help the shops in Quirindi stay in business. We have to have a plan if we want to help the hairdressers and all those small businesses and the people who have small houses in humble streets in little regional towns survive. We have to have a plan, and the people who can make that plan are in this room today. They can really leave here and make a difference. They can actually act as a nation. We have to do this because we have to understand between us the efficient movement of fodder. We have to understand the symbiotic relationship between the growing of cotton in irrigated fields and the delivery of protein to stock. We have to understand that this nation's in its embryonic form, this place built in 1927, but it's an embryonic form. They were going to close this nation down. People starved to death in this nation after the close settlement, after the First Fleet in 1790, because they didn't have a proper plan then for how they were going to deal with drought, of how they were going to deal with failure. And if there's one thing this room can do today, is to work together and say we will leave here as a nation. We will have a plan and we will be brave enough to build the dams. We'll be brave enough to drive through with the inland rail and make sure that it is completed. We'll be brave enough to make sure that this nation is a better nation than what it was before we came to this room. Some may ask the question, why should you help farmers? Why help a certain sector in the economy? Because not merely because you think it may prescribe to some economic theorem, but it certainly prescribes to a theorem of patriotism, of believing in a nation that is predominantly owned by mums and dads, that we stand behind a nation that mums and dads own the suburban house, they own the suburban farm, and at times that has to be supported by other means. We have a public transport system in the major cities because we believe in a public good. We believe in a public good. People do not pay the full price for their ticket. They pay a subsidised price for a ticket in a public transport system in the cities. And no one in regional areas complains about that because it is a public good. It is also a public good that we keep people on the land. So what we should do today is make sure that we work with what is in this room so that if we have a plan for better genetics in wheat that is more drought tolerant, if we have an understanding of the climatic conditions that are before us, if we have a plan that acknowledges that one of the reasons that we're getting through this drought so much better than Australia of 1790, so much better than probably in pharaonic times, so much better than the 1803 drought, so much better than the 1900 drought, so much better than the millennium drought, is because whether by default or planning we have made this nation a better place and we can take the next step. So I think that what we should do today, if nothing else, is, and I acknowledge the incredible work the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister has done. The Prime Minister is actually on this game. I've seen other Prime Ministers. I've seen quite a few. But what I can tell you is that this Prime Minister actually wants to make a difference. This Prime Minister actually wants to have a plan for our nation. This Prime Minister has brought you here today because he doesn't want you just to walk out the door for the coffee. And wouldn't it be a great thing for all those who are watching today if we walk out and we say, because of this, there was more water storages. Because of this, there was a greater investment in genetics. Because of this, the $5 billion fund, which has been set up today, has put ourselves in a better position. Because of this, on-farm water infrastructure is assisting people to have a better resilience to dealing with drought in the future. Because of this, we know where the cattle are, we know where the fodder is, we know how to make the needs meet and make this system work better. Well, that vessel of capacity resides in this chamber right here, right now, today. And that would be the best thing for the Australian people, because in closing, it's this: how we can deal with an issue such as drought is a reflection of how our nation can deal with other challenges that come before it. How our nation deals with this drought becomes a reflection of the other challenges that will no doubt become before us, and the next drought will come before us, and how we can work together as a nation of Australia in this old chamber to make our country a better place. All the best and God bless.